Oh man, things just keep on getting better. You know, I love covering the Montreal Canadiens on YouTube. Not just because I happen to be a fan of the team. It's been that way for about 6-7 years now. And that's been very apparent when you look at all the videos that we've made reacting to Canadiens draft picks over the years. I screamed like heck when Cole Caulfield was taken 15th overall 6 years ago. But despite the fact that I am a Canadiens fan who happens to be passionate about the things that they do and the players and the stories, etc., the best part about covering this team is that things are just always looking up. Especially the past few years. The Habs, under the leadership and the decisions of Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton, have just been making banger moves after banger moves, dubs after dubs, and they just cannot slow down. This team is going to be a contender soon, folks. They are right there. Just got to take that next step with these young guys, and then all of a sudden, boom. Everything the Toronto Maple Leafs were supposed to be in their Core 4 era, the Habs will be able to do too, just with a lot more dollar amount savings. Regardless, the reason I opened this video up by talking about how everything seems to go well for Montreal is because I wanted to visit a trade that happened back in the summer that is just looking so much better now. And I'm not even insinuating that this trade didn't look good back when it was made. Oh nah, we already made a video talking about the trade itself when it happened. We already spoke about the return. And we said that the Montreal Canadiens made a fantastic trade with the St. Louis Blues to acquire Zach Bolduc. Now, it was a 1-for-1 trade. That much is certain, and a lot of folks are going to go out there and say, wait a minute, Montreal was operating from a position of weakness, were they not? They were dangling Logan Mailloux in the trade market because they had acquired Noah Dobson. They had Alexandre Carrier, they have a lot of left-handed defensemen, and they've got David Reinbacher. There's no real need to have Mailloux on their roster anyway. This guy's spot wasn't guaranteed. It wasn't like he was going to go out there and win a top opportunity with the Montreal Canadiens with Noah Dobson in the fold, so the Habs were trading away an asset that, by all accounts, they didn't need. And the St. Louis Blues decided to give them Zach Bolduc, whom I guess you could say the Blues thought of in a similar way. You could make the debate that, oh, the Blues have a lot of middle six forwards that can shoot and that can score, and Bolduc was one of many, with Neighbors and Snuggerud and Shen and Cairo and Thomas. But then you think about what's happening now. You take a look at Zach Bolduc and the red-hot way he started out this 25-26 season. He's on the top power play. He scored a whole bunch of goals for the Blues last year as a 21 turning 22-year-old, and this guy is now all of a sudden being placed in prime scoring areas with the Habs alongside of Suzuki, Caulfield, Slafkovsky, and Hudson. That's a top power play point producer who has been carrying his weight and who is literally at a point per game on the season. He's got 4 points, 3 goals, and 1 assist in 4 games played. Did not register a point yesterday, unfortunately, so his point per game number went down. But the Blues traded this guy away. And a lot of us, right away, were saying, hey, wait a minute. Montreal's getting a bona fide scorer who's young, who has a lot of potential still, and they're getting this guy for Mailloux? How in the hell was that able to happen? Kent Hughes, what kind of voodoo magic are you casting on the St. Louis Blues? And the reason this trade is looking even better now is because of what's been going on the past few days with that return that St. Louis got in exchange. Ladies and gentlemen, Logan Mailloux hasn't been playing all too well with the St. Louis Blues. Take a look at the games so far. He's got 3 games under his belt against the Minnesota Wild, Calgary Flames, and Vancouver Canucks. He played 14 minutes, 8 minutes, and 12 minutes, with 0 points and a -3. In fact, that 8-minute game that he had against the Calgary Flames was, in particular, a lot worse than all the others. And if you look at what happened, he actually ended up getting benched. Here's the Hockey Stat Cards Game Score Impact card for St. Louis against the Calgary Flames on October 11th. You can see that Logan Mailloux was all the way at the bottom there. Lots of guys did well. The Blues won that game 4-2. Fowler, Neighbors, Thomas and Buchnevich all doing some pretty good work. Justin Falk and Broberg also. But Logan Mailloux was above and beyond the worst St. Louis player that night. And as a result, the guy went out there and got himself benched, and you've got a bunch of Blues fans responding in this Twitter thread with some pretty bad negativity. Hey, get Mailloux off of this team, he's not good, etc., etc. I mean, this is a guy that was just traded for one of the top goal scorers the Montreal Canadiens have right now. How does this keep happening? Like, how does Montreal always find ways to get the best out of everybody? Like, every asset that they have or every trade that they make, there's always a really good angle behind it. And even when it's an innocuous type of move, even if it's a move that everybody's expecting, even though it's like, oh yeah, Logan Mailloux, probably going to get traded. There are too many defensemen. There's no real reason for the Canadiens to still work with this experiment because it doesn't look like it's going to go anywhere. And they end up getting a guy who's on pace for, what, 60 goals this season? Now, of course, Zach Bolduc is not going to get that. Like, he'll probably round out around 25, maybe 30 if he gets lucky, and if he stays on that top power play. But ultimately, the Montreal Canadiens have made out like bandits in this trade right here. It is Zach Bolduc, a super valuable, super useful player that was acquired just for the ripe old price of a guy that is continuously struggling with St. Louis now, and who ended up getting benched earlier this year after being the worst defenseman on the ice a few days ago. Now that's totally not to discredit Mailloux. There still is potential in this guy, and there's a reason he was valued as highly as he was to be acquired by St. Louis for that price. But if St. Louis was thinking of turning a really low-key situation into a pot of gold like they did with Philip Broberg and the offer sheet situation a year ago, then they might need to work a little bit harder at making Logan Mailloux just that. Because for right now, it doesn't seem like he's got that in him. So, if you're a Blues fan, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How optimistic are you that Logan Mailloux will take the next step to become what it is that he should become? A big-bodied, puck-moving, offensive defenseman with some mobility and a good shot. Some of these tools are still there. He's just got to get the tool set to be able to use them properly at the NHL level, and not get benched against one of the weaker teams in the Pacific like the Calgary Flames. There's potential with Mailloux, but when you see him get traded for a guy that's had this much value for Montreal, it's hard to not feel the sting from that. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit the like button. If you didn't, the dislike button's there for you as well. Comments help out with the algorithm, so I'd appreciate it if you got involved there. I hope you enjoyed this Swedish Roll 9, and bye.